It is embarrassing. It is an absolute scandal what's happening in the U.S. military. Guys, welcome to the channel, The Modern Survivalist. Before we go on, if you want to learn more about realistic survival and preparedness, which is what this channel is about, you can learn a lot from the videos that are already uploaded, but you can also get my books, Surviving the Economic Collapse, based on my experience of going through just that, an economic collapse in Argentina, something you can benefit from greatly, especially given what's going on in the economic context today, as well as the recession that the CEO of BlackRock has already admitted is happening, and as well as street survival skills, a bunch of knowledge accumulated over many years of doing this in a serious manner. It's not about fear-mongering or worrying about doomsday. No, it's about realistic preparedness, understanding the things that are gonna happen eventually in life and some of the things that are very likely to occur too, and getting ready for those without panic or fear. Okay, you have the links for my books in the links below there in the description of this video. What am I talking about? The XM7. XM7, guys, it's gonna be 6 points, right? 6 points that I want to go through. But before we do even any of that, what are you trying to do here with this thing? Even if you don't know anything about fire, well, the first thing you realize is that this is the same. This is Sig. This is the company that brought you wonders like the M70. Oh, you shut up. I love my Sig 3. No, you don't. You don't. You may have fallen for the marketing and all of the corruption and all of the lies, but there's no way in hell you'll convince me that the Glock, which is suited for your elite groups, for your special operation groups, for your special op tactics guys, for whoever has the option, he's going to go with a Glock. But when it came down to buying something for every soldier, this is what you came up with? A gun that has zero track record, a gun that shot on its own, fired on its own when dropped. It was so poorly designed that it had a flaw that hadn't been seen in like 100 years in modern handguns. What are you talking? And your solution, instead of actually fixing the clear design flaw that you have here, was lightening the trigger so as to have less mass. I mean, enough. It is beyond stupid to try to make an excuse, try to convince anyone that this thing was better than a Glock. And it's not about being a Glock fanboy or a Sig fanboy. It's about understanding that there are certain guns that have been around for a much longer time and have a much better proven track record than something that does not even exist in this sphere where you don't have any amount of time for the M17 compared to the Glock. My God, and people actually believe that made any sense. This is called corruption, guys. Oh, no, sorry, it's called lobbying, but it's actually called corruption. Well, even if you don't understand much about guns at all, the first thing that you realize when you see the XM7 is that thing is fucking huge. What are you trying to do? That thing is enormous. Number one, the volume of the rifle. Why do you have a gigantic ass rifle in the modern, armed forces that you have, with not every guy being a giant dude, or you have lots of women these days? So in the modern context that you have, why are you going from something like this, which is compact, right, which is easy to maneuver? I'm not even talking about weight. Weight is going to be point number 2. We're still talking about volume, how big the thing is, how easy it is to move it around, handle it, giving my own body size and the size of this thing. Even if it's a plastic toy, like a Nerf, if it's just too large, you're hitting against things, against walls, you're maneuvering poorly, you're getting in and out of vehicles poorly, you're giving a folding stock to this ridiculous thing. It is, why are you even doing it? Why do you care so much all of a sudden when you're giving this thing to a soldier, right? It is enormous. Point number 1, and soldiers that are actually using it have pointed that out. It is big. It is a big thing. This quickly brings us to number 2, which is it's heavy. It is a lot heavier than they claim it is. Look, officially, the XM7 weighs 4.6 kilos. That is not true. And by the way, the official number of 4.6 kilos, that is almost half a kilo more than an FAL. An FAL like the one I have there on the back. That FAL, that thing, is almost half a kilo lighter than this new rifle from Sig. But it gets worse. It is not even true. The actual number, when soldiers actually placed it on a scale, it's 6 kilograms. It's over 50% heavier than an FAL. Are you fucking kidding me? This thing is tremendously heavy besides being large, big. All right? Number 2, you have to realize how much soldiers hate any kind of weight. Anyone that ever walked any amount of distance knows how bad weight is. Especially when you're talking about so much more, right? And especially when you come from this. This weight's nothing. I don't even know how much I don't even care. I just know that, look, this is a Colt M4, right? There you have it. Yeah, right. Colt. There it is. Colt M4 rifle. It is light. And I have a flashlight in this thing, and I have so it is still so much lighter and convenient for moving around than this. Okay, makes no sense whatsoever. Number 3, magazine capacity. You have 20 rounds on this thing. The moment I saw the Spear or XM7 as it's, what are you? That's not a soldier's gun. That's a designated shooter gun. Right? Which you already have, by the way. But if you tell me that you want to have this for designated shooters in a squad, okay, yeah, sure, that makes sense. But for everyone, this being the issue rifle for and the excuse for all of this scandal of corruption was that, well, the Chinese have these ballistic plates. Well, you know what? Ballistic plates are nothing new. They've been around for a long time. There is ammunition that will go through it. No. But these new ones require something we've never seen before. Really? Does it? Okay. And your solution is giving everyone a rifle that is 50% heavier than an FAL and has and you lose 50% of your magazine capacity. You're going from 20 rounds to 30 rounds when you go from an M14 to one of these things, right? When you go from M14 to AR, that was 50% more ammunition in your magazine, right? From 20 to 30. That 10 more? All right. Why are you going backwards? What are you even doing? We already went through this thing about you don't need so much power in each round, because the reality is that in warfare, in soldiering, in shooting at one another, right? Very much like in the instance of self-defense, where we analyze some of the research done by people that have been gathering this information for decades. It doesn't matter what you hit someone with. If you hit someone with a 22 long rifle or a 9mm or a 44 Magnum, the statistics say it's basically the same damn thing, especially when they're not wearing body armor, right? It just doesn't matter, because it only matters where you hit, right? In spite of all of the marketing, the reality is that shooting someone a couple of times with 22 will pretty much dead them very much the same, okay? And when it comes down to this, what you have to understand is that 99.9999% of the time, it does not matter either, because it's mostly about suppressive fire. You're just shooting something that's not going to hit a damn thing. You're just shooting something to keep heads down. You're shooting something to maneuver around someone, to put some pressure on whoever group of guys is out there. And by the way, if you manage to aim properly and shoot someone with this, I'm not a big fan of the AR in general. I'm a very big fan of the FAL, but I also understand that in modern warfare, you can't expect everyone to drag around a fucking FAL. It is gigantic and it's heavy, and it's not necessary because, again, it's about keeping heads low. It's about suppressive fire. 99.99% of the time, it's going to be suppressive fire, so it doesn't matter if you're shooting them with a 277 Fury. Jesus Christ, people. They know this. I know this. That's how I know that they know this as well. They know that this was a designated marksman rifle, not an issue rifle for everyone. It is idiotic to expect, especially heavier than an FAL. Are you kidding me? All right. Number 3, magazine capacity. On several of the exercises that they did, they realized that they did not have enough ammunition on them, right? These magazines, these things that they carry around, it has 20 rounds per magazine instead of 30. You have a lot less ammo. You have a lot less suppressive fire capability when you have this thing instead of your AR or your M4, right? And that's massive. Also, from reports from soldiers in Ukraine, the idea of no, it's very much the case that it's still very much the case that it's well within the 300-yard range that these fights end up occurring. So it's not because of the Chinese plates, and it's not because but we have massive distances now. No, you don't. This, for the distances, was already fine. This was okay, all right? But anyway, number 4, precision. So you shoot a nice little group, and then all of a sudden you start having flyers. And that's what soldiers were talking about with the XM7. Why? I don't know. It's grouping okay, and then they have a flyer. Then a couple rounds work, then another flyer. Well, it turns out that because they had to reinvent the wheel. I mean, how the hell do you come up with this? Oh, but you don't understand. It has so much more pressure. Why? Why do you need that? It looks almost the same. You're justifying something that is stupid. Why do you have a bimetal case? This is expensive, and it's definitely going to be a failure point, which actually is, and we'll get to that in a second. But why are you going with this instead of a 308 or 762 by 51? It just doesn't make any sense. Well, it turns out that this little cartridge, the 277 Fury, it is called Fury. It has to be super badass. Well, yeah, it has a lot of pressure. 80K versus 62K. Why? Well, because as stupid as this idea was from its conception, they needed to find a way of making this thing more compact. So they have to shorten down the barrel. And with a 13-inch barrel, and you're basically shooting a 308, but actually with more pressure, what you have is a fucking gigantic fireball. And you cannot have that. That's why on these things, you have the little bird cage, right? This makes like a little tangerine size little fireball, which is, it's there, but it's not nearly as visible as the melon that's coming out of this thing with the cartridge that you're firing. And since you have to cut weight somehow, and this thing is already big enough as it is, they shorten it down and they give it a flash hider. Well, yeah. It turns out that with this barrel length and the pressure required for this thing to still be viable, you have 80K PSI of pressure. That wears down your gun at a far more accelerated rate than with 308. This means that the rifling of the gun, the barrel starts wearing, and that's why they start having these flyers, as well as a bunch of other problems with reliability and failures and ruptured cases and a lot more stuff. It is really embarrassing that they thought that they would justify this expensive ammo. Why? For someone to make a few more $1 million? That's why it is. This is for a fucking tank, not for a rifle. Especially not for a rifle that you're basically you're going back in time. You're going back to the M14 era when that was not a good idea, right? It is incredible. And there's a number of articles about all of this stuff, right? And they try to hide it. But the fifth thing, point number 5, is the flash hider starts to fucking glow, right? Because it starts to overheat to the point where it's burning out your night vision. This gets so hot that it starts glowing. Imagine marking your position with literally a marker on your person, on your gun, because of this thing. It is so stupid, so poorly thought out, such a fucking terrible idea. What is it that Sig said? Well, it's only when you do like rapid fire. Yeah, Sig, it's damn soldiers. They may have to do rapid fire. What is it this for your grandfather to go target shooting on weekends? The XM7? It's only a problem when you do rapid fire? Are you kidding me? That's only, okay. I thought it was bad. No, it's only when doing rapid fire. Okay, that's perfectly fine. Number 6, the failure of the stupid ammunition and the rupturing of the case. This was obviously going to be the case. It is necessary because you have an extremely high pressure round, which, justifying that which was not even necessary to begin with. But because of those high pressures, you use steel on the back of this thing, right? And guess where it starts rupturing and breaking? Exactly there. in this point of failure. It is always the case. Whenever you have these composites, whenever you have these different kind of metals, and you don't have a uniform material all around these, especially when one is stronger than the other, yeah, that's where it breaks, baby. Of course it does. It is such a stupid idea. Why do you think it is that no one did it up until now? Why do you think it is? You have 556, you have 762, you had 30-06, whatever it is, it was always the same case, the same material used all over. But no, now they're reinventing the wheel. Fucking terrible idea, and it's failing. It's failing bad. And they want to push this thing, and they will not. They will not convince. They cannot make people drag around this damn dead horse. It's not that the gun itself is bad. I'm not talking about that. I think this is probably a great gun for a designated marksman. I think it is. And I get it. It has all the bells and whistles. It's a baby poop color. You have a short stroke pistol, which, by the way, you had on an FAL as well, which is, I mean, it is so stupid. If instead of going with the M14, they would have gone with the FAL from the start, you know, it's almost over a half a century, you would have the same thing that they're trying to achieve here. Jesus Christ. Oh, but you have the flip side here. And this thing apparently is also failing pretty bad. All of this computer thing here, also terrible. It's just, you know what it is? It's corruption. It's corruption just to make the people in charge, the people running SIG and the people associated with them, the generals that are also consulting for SIG and all of that corruption, disgusting corruption. That's why you have this joke of a situation happening in the United States. Folks, see you next time. Take care.